Hi guys, Mark Holthe here, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher. I am super excited to be back with all of you. I want to apologize for missing the EE Live Q&A yesterday. I had a huge issue with a client that I was dealing with, and because of that, it required me to stay with them, work with them over this massive issue, and not go live yesterday, Tuesday, like we usually do at noon. So today is Wednesday, and I am grateful for those of you who, notwithstanding the fact I made you wait and wait, which was probably during the middle of the night last night, and wondering, where's Mark? Where's Mark? Well, I just want to apologize to all of you guys. Those who watch this as a recording, well, I'm not too worried about you because you can watch it anytime. But the fact that I made some of you guys wait at the middle of the night and not receive the video that you were counting on, I just want to apologize to all of you guys. Okay, so with that being said, we've got some awesome things planned for today. I have a fantastic guest that's going to be joining me. His name is Bala Munagala, and he is actually in Canada. And he is one of the most recent permanent residents of Canada and a graduate of our Express Entry Law private Facebook group. And all of this is a part of the Canadian Immigration Institute. And so he is a graduate of the Canadian Immigration Institute, like many of you other people out there. And so he's going to come on and he's going to talk a little bit about what the landing process was like starting from within Canada. In other words, he went through the study permit route, got his postgrad work permit, applied through Express Entry, and then him and his family just recently landed. They completed their landing at one of the Canadian ports of entry. So that's a lot different than some of you other folks who are flying into one of the major centers like Vancouver or Toronto. So Bala's going to talk to us a little bit about that. I'm really grateful that he has come. And I also want to tell you guys after my little interview with Bala, because we'll bring him on and then we'll let him disappear because he's a graduate now. And so we're going to take his knowledge and information. He's going to help us. But at the end of the day, I know he's got other things that he's going to probably drift off to as well. But we'll go through the interview with him at the beginning, and then I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've got going on to help these videos actually reach you. Because as we've seen, I've got a couple problems. One is Facebook is not letting my videos get out to everybody within my timeline. They're throttling it. They're only showing to whoever they think really wants to see it. Well, I know that all 110,000 of you are desperate to see it. Okay, maybe that's not quite the truth. But there's a whole lot more than the 3,000 or 4,000 that are actually seeing it. So I figured out a way to get around it. So stay tuned, and I'll tell you what that is right after the interview with Bala. Okay, it is now time. The man, the myth, the legend is going to be joining us. Bala. All right, let's see if I can get this. Here it comes. Oh, not quite. There's just Bala. And now I'm going to find both of us. Here we go. There we go. Success. After 3 tries, Bala, you were dancing on and off of the screen, and now we're both here together. So
Great.
Welcome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Thank you.
Where are you, Bala? Where are you located?
I'm at Mark. I'm in Toronto right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting right at home, and I have work to catch at 4.
Oh, okay. Well, we better get going here because that is it's 2:11 right now. How long is your commute to work?
It's a 30 minutes drive, and it's pretty comfortable. That's okay.
Okay, good. Okay,
That's a lot of time. I'm looking at my call. It's 2:10 right now.
Okay.
So.
Okay, good. Okay, well, we'll make sure that we pull out this awesome information from you, and then we will let you slip away. Okay.
No problem.
Awesome. Okay, I'm just pulling up here on my phone because my new program doesn't let me see comments. My eCam Live doesn't let me see comments. So now I'm in the process of waiting for my own video to appear on my own feed. There it is. So now I can actually see comments. Okay, now I'm going to try and mute my volume here. Okay, I'm set up. Perfect. Okay. All right. So the one thing that I wanted to talk about with Bala obviously was the landing process, but how did you get there? So what was your path? Give us a quick little overview.
Sure. So my dream started in 2014 to come to Canada. So I was working with a bank in India for almost 8 years. Then I decided to relocate to Canada, and applied for my post-secondary, and I landed here in August 2014, and continued. I completed my post-secondary in financial planning and wealth management. And once I completed it, it's pretty straightforward. I applied for my 2 years, 3 years study permit, like work permit, postgrad work permit.
Yes.
And once I completed, I straight landed in a job, and using that experience, I've applied myself under Canadian Work Experience Class.
Experience Class, yes.
Yeah. And recently I got my PR. So
that is awesome.
Thank you.
So who's here with you? Are you here on your own?
Me, I came with my family, like me, my wife initially.
Yeah.
And in 2016, I was blessed with the son, and he's a Canadian citizen. So
awesome. That is so cool.
So yeah, I've applied in the month of say a couple of months ago, once I complete my 1 year experience in Canada. So I'm eligible. I got my scores. I've calculated all my scores. And once I found out it's right time to apply. So I started my express entry, and I got my ITA in 21st of February.
Yeah.
My total points were at around 443, and the draw was at 442, and I got the invitation at in the month of February.
Yes.
And it took me almost a month to prepare for my documents. It's not easy.
No, it is not.
So I completed my documentation procedures, and I submitted all the documents on say 25th of March. And that's where it started. Like I was waiting from day one, once I complete my submitted my application.
Yeah.
And it took I was really surprised. Like with my application is really, really fast, I should say, because I've submitted my application on 25th of March. And I got my confirmation, like, for my passport request on exactly 25 days. It was really, really surprising to me. On 20th of April, I checked my email, and it was like, send me your passport. So I was really surprised, like so quick and fast.
Yeah. Isn't that exciting? You know, people, and then here's the problem that I have. Okay, here is the problem, Bala. People, they now start to complain. I submitted my application. It's been 3 weeks, and I don't have my approval. What's going on? Why is this approval not coming through? Bala got his in like 3 weeks or whatever. What is there something wrong? Should I send a case specific inquiry? Should, do I request an ATIP to see where my file is at? And so, yes, sometimes people in Canada and in particular, the Canadian experience class tends to be a little bit quicker. But people inside Canada, we see the processing going a little bit faster. And when the government says 80% of the applications will be processed within 6 months, people have to realize that yours will not always go as fast here as Bala's. It won't. But that is awesome. So you were stoked, super excited. You sent your passport and information off. And then what happened?
And then I received my passport within 4 days. As and when they asked for my passport, I sent it on the next day itself. I went to Canada Post, and they asked for 2 photographs as well. So me and my wife both together, we went, we sent off our passports on the next day. And we received them by 26th of April. We received both the passports along with the stamps and the instructions. We received by 26th, like 4 business days. We got them back, and we were super excited to go out of the country. Like in that procedure itself, they actually provided 2 options for us. Say one is if you're residing in outside of Canada, and one is if you're residing inside of Canada. So the first option is you can call the actual CIC phone number they provide in their instructions. You can call them and book an appointment within Canada. Like you not necessarily you need to go out of the country, but you can personally need to book an appointment and go there and do the formalities by booking an appointment. Not necessary to go out. But I tried to call them, but unfortunately the lines are too busy. I couldn't get that. So I thought, okay, let me take a drive. So it was a weekend. So I said, okay, I've also, because I live in Toronto, there are two places close to me. One is Niagara and the other one is Thousand Islands. So I took a feedback that Niagara is taking a little bit of longer time. You have to wait sometimes because of the tourist busy spots. So they have a little bit of wait times. Then I decided to go to Thousand Islands. Mm-hmm. And amazing day. It was a Sunday, the weekend, and it's not so busy at that point of time. So what they actually told me is to actually go to US. Mm-hmm. And no matter if you have a visa or not, you still have to go to US. And then it's called flag pooling. You just need to get a rejection letter from them that you're not entering to US, but you're technically out of Canada. That's the reason why they ask us to go outside of Canada and cross the border and then come back, and they have done our landing formalities. It's like 5 minutes of wait, and the officer was so nice. He was so courteous. He took our documents. Within 10 minutes, he said, everything is ready. We are good to go.
Awesome. Okay, so for all of the immigration officers who are actually watching this, sometimes they do just for fun. I just got back from my National Immigration Conference in Ottawa, and I know from time to time they'll pop in and see what I'm doing just for curiosity's sake. So here's a good piece of information for you guys in Ottawa. Bala tried initially to call. Let's see if I can get there's my phone. He's calling. Can I set up an appointment? But ring, 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 no answer. So what does Bala do? He says, hey, I tried to follow the phone, but you don't have enough people answering the phone to book those appointments. So you of the Canadian the Canadian Border Service Agency, who are frustrated with all the people doing their landings at the ports of entry, and you're wondering why they're coming there, it's speed, it's faster. But even for people like Bala, they actually tried to set up the appointment but couldn't get through. So if you want to resolve this, CBSA needs to talk with IRCC and sort it out to make it easier for people to land in Canada. So there's the tip that Mark is even doing for the federal government, thanks to good people like Bala who are sharing their real-time experiences. And Bala, when did you call? Like it must have been just almost the same day that you got your request?
Correct. On the same day, and I tried on the next day as well, but no luck. So I then decided, okay.
Awesome.
Because my wife's work permit is getting expired next month, so I don't want to take any chances with that.
Yes.
But they clearly mention if you're in a rush, like if your work permit is getting expired, they told us to give a call and explain your situation. Maybe they can find a better and faster appointment. But
if you
no
can't
luck.
Get through to them in the beginning, how's that going to help, right?
So
awesome.
Then we decided, okay, let's go for a long ride.
Very cool.
It was a good experience.
Okay, so you went down. Did you actually appear on the Canadian side and say, we want to do the landing, and then they told you, no, you got to drive down and around? Or did you know in advance that you had to actually present yourself to the U.S. Border officers?
Actually, I did went for the first time directly parking my car like it's in the Canada, within Canada. And I went inside and explained the situation that I'm looking to complete my landing procedure, but they advised me to go, like, technically cross the border and come back again. So we took back our car and went to US States again. And again, we just got ourselves rejected and come back. It's flag pooling. So.
Okay. So let's talk about the rejection process. So when you actually drove down, you said to the officer, I'm just here to do my Canadian landing.
Correct.
And so what did the officers do? How did they process you when you were going down? Now, guys, just to clarify, I understand how this all works, but Bala is going to give us his explanation of a real-life example.
So I did mention to the U.S. immigration officer that I'm just doing my PR landing procedure, so he understands everything. So he simply asked me to drop the passports and go to their office, and just immediately they gave me a rejection letter. And taking that, I just made a U-turn back to Canada. Yeah. So that's like a proof that I crossed the border.
Maybe did they do any fingerprints or iris scans? Okay.
Nope. Because I do have a U.S. Like a visitor's visa.
Oh, you do?
But
Okay.
yeah, I do. But I don't want to go through those formalities. Like,
No.
when you go there, you have to again do your scannings and everything. I said I simply I don't want to go inside of U.S., but I just technically I want to go back. So they completely understand the situation. This was pretty straightforward. They just gave me a letter. Perfect. Me and my wife just turned my car back again and tried to come into Canada. So.
Wonderful. And remember, guys, Bala's child was born in Canada. So no need to do landing for the child because that child is a Canadian citizen.
You're right. It clearly explains you when you get your documents from CSE, it shows like who are the people that should accompany to complete the procedure. So me and my wife names are clearly mentioned over there. So nowhere in the process they ask my son's information, like nothing.
Excellent. Okay, last question. People are always asking about proof of funds question. Did the officer at Thousand Islands, did they actually ask for anything related to proof of funds?
Nope.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nothing. Like they actually asked to mention the balance. Actually, they didn't ask for proof of funds. Yeah. But I remember they asked me how much do you have in your accounts, just to declare myself. Hey, this is the amount that I have for the disposal. That's it.
Gotcha. Perfect. Well, this has been wonderful, Bala. I really, really appreciate it. And it's been a wonderful thing to have you a part of the group. Super excited that, that you were able to get a few things out of it and it helped you along your journey. And I think myself and all the members of our Express Entry Law private Facebook group wish you and your family all the best in Canada.
Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate you as well. Thank you so much for organizing these Q&A sessions. I'm sure initially I used to watch your videos as well just to find out any information that can help my file better as well. And I'm really amazed that the fact that you're doing all this for free. Like I know you're taking time, you're helping the clients all over the world. It's like super amazing. And we have to thank you for organizing these Q&A sessions. It's mean a lot for most of the people because some people files might be straightforward, but some people might do simple mistakes that can actually devastate their dreams. Actually, like can end up their dreams in like simple mistakes, but your videos will really help them to avoid those mistakes and the fact is you're not getting paid for that.
You know what? I'm going to speak to that. I'm going to speak to that for just 1 second before I let you go. What you guys don't understand is that I am wired internally, like inside me, to help people. And that's why I became a lawyer. So one of the significant motivators was to be able to have enough resources to help my own family as well as my mother who was retiring. And I knew that she had basically no retirement savings because she'd helped my other brothers get through everything and get them set up because my dad had died when we were little. And so I became a lawyer to help people first and foremost. And obviously I live off of the money that people pay me. And so people think, well, Mark, why in the world are you doing this? For free, because I don't know, you guys can maybe comment here where I'm watching. If you know of anyone else who's doing what I'm doing for free, giving away everything for free, I'd love to hear and I'd love to meet them because I'd bring them on and celebrate them as well. But the reality is, guys, I do this not just for the hope that someone will engage me and hire me as their consultant, because many of you do, but also I do it because it just makes me feel good. I feel like I'm actually making a difference in the world. And many of you volunteer, you give service in your communities, you help your neighbor, which is something that's becoming foreign in our world now. Now we're so self-centered and only worried about ourselves that we'll let our neighbor, suffer with a heart attack on the street because we don't want to get involved. But the reality is there are still lots of good people in this world who want to make the world a better place. And when we help one another, we support one another, it not only helps them and helps our whole communities, but if you're anything like me, it just feels good. So am I getting compensation and payment? Yeah, I am. Because people like Bala are saying thank you. And guess how that makes me feel? Wow, maybe this is worth it. Now, I still have to pay my mortgage. I still have to keep my kids fed. And I still have to keep my job, which is another important thing here at Stringham LLP, because I am a lawyer and I do have an employer. So anyways, I want to just express appreciation, Bala, for you saying that. That was very, very kind.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me, and it's a great pleasure having you in being in Canada and becoming a permanent resident. It's a completely different experience, honestly.
Awesome.
I celebrated that with my whole. I messaged all across my Facebook, and member of the groups are also congratulating me. I'm really happy. I wish all the best for all the people in the group as well. All the good luck for all the group members.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Bala. We'll let you go. And,
thank you, Mark.
And we'll continue on with the question and answer portion of our Express Entry Law Q&A. Thanks.
Thanks again. Thanks for having me. Bye.
All right. There we go. That was awesome having Bala join me. And, it just gave a whole different perspective because a lot of you are outside of Canada, but many of you are inside of Canada too. So that's the process for landing. And you can see Bala, he was able to come on. It was able to help him get through the process. And hey, if something I'm doing is helping people, then that's awesome. But he also identified something that's really important. And that's the fact that not everybody, their situations are straightforward. And the reality is, in many cases, the clients that I deal with don't understand or even know when their situation is actually complex and complicated. And so because of that, people will listen to everyone that says, you don't need to hire someone. You can just do it yourself. Everything's super easy. And guess what happens, guys? Then they make little tiny mistakes that then result in their application getting refused. And sometimes people, especially those in the early days, who received their ITAs at a level that was so low, the round of invitation was maybe at 420, and it was actually 413 was the lowest draw. Well, I've got clients that were actually drawn at that level. Imagine if you made a mistake and then you had to go back and resubmit your profile and get redrawn. And guess what? The total may never drop down to that level again. So guys, the stakes right now are super, super high. So with these videos, like I said, I've been complaining that they aren't always pushed out to everybody. So here is what I've dealt with or created to try to help with that situation. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And what I'm going to do is right at the very top, you'll see right here, if I scroll down a bit, you'll see that there is a section called announcements. So right here, if you track my mouse, and maybe I can, well, I'll leave it like this. I was going to blow it up bigger, but we'll just leave it. So this announcements right here has this notification. So Canadian Immigration Institute, subscribe now to my Express Entry email list. So this email list is where I'm going to be pushing out all my best content. And in fact, right off the bat, I have a series of 15 separate emails that are all designed to give you some of my best top information and direction completely free. And obviously, when you go in, you can click on this link right here, and I'll click on it. And it will take you right here to the spot where you can enter your email address and be added to the list. So those of you who are always wanting to get notifications of these, I'm going to start putting the links to let you guys know when they actually happen. If you're not able to catch them right at noon, normally on Tuesdays. So that's normally when I do it. But that's where you go, guys. And you can give me your email address, and then I will continue to push out these notifications to you, information. And then there will always be links on there as well to purchase a subscription to my Express Entry, complete step-by-step guide to doing it yourself. And if you want to book a consultation with me, there's an easy link there. So those of you who know you have a difficult situation, I can often respond and help you to navigate through some of the more complex issues in a simple consult. But those of you who actually purchase the guide, this is the step-by-step walkthrough. And for $97 US a month, which I'm actually going to increase it here, I've realized that what I'm charging is just too little for it because it's everything. It's my whole knowledge about Express Entry. I'm in the process of updating some of the videos to modernize them. There's been some cosmetic changes with Express Entry, nothing substantive, but I'm going to update them with some new, more modern videos, a few of the videos, just like the document checklist, for instance, just to bring it in line with the way you view the Express Entry EAPR portion itself. So those of you who are interested in doing this, I recommend that you do it now because you're going to see notifications coming out where the price is actually going up. And so if you want to take advantage of that, you can do that. But it's $97 a month, or you can purchase a lifetime subscription at $497 US. All right, I'm going to leave that aside. And now I want to go straight into the Q&A portion. And let's see here. Okay, I'm ready now. If you guys want to post your questions, then I think I should be able to see them here. And then we can, I'll go through, and for the remaining 15 or 20 minutes here, I'm going to answer all your questions right for those that are live. So you can post them right now. Okay. Now remember, a couple little things while we're waiting for the questions to be posted is that if it's a specific question that only relates to just your unique circumstances, then for those questions, you guys are going to have to book a paid consult with me, because I don't provide specific legal advice through this. But if it's a general question that affects everybody and you're looking for information on that, I can totally answer that. And that's what these are designed to do. So let's see what people have to say here. So we'll wait for them to appear. And also, those of you who are tuning in, because this isn't a normal time, lots of people were not aware of it. And so they're going to be watching this as a recording. But those of you who are watching, I'm curious to see where you're actually tuning in from. So post in the comments section where you are tuning in from. And yeah, I'd love to see it. Okay, so here's the first question. So this one is from Drishti. And let's see if it's, okay, it says, my F1 and F2 visa was rejected for US, and now I am on H4 visa. Do I need to mention it, or are they asking for visa denial when you were not able to come? Ah, gotcha. Excuse me, sneeze. Okay, so Drishti, I always take the position, I disclose everything. Even if I am not quite sure whether or not it's officially considered a refusal, I actually do disclose it. So there's no harm, because when you're applying for permanent residence, it does not matter at all. It doesn't matter at all what kind of temporary applications that you've had refused. It doesn't matter, because that doesn't apply in the context of permanent residence. So that's one thing I want to share with you. And what I'm doing now with all the questions, you can bear with me as I make notes here myself. I'm going to make in the description, I'm going to break down all the questions and the time period in which they were asked. Okay. So that one was Drishti, and she was asking about, refusals. So TR refusals. Okay. Next question. Let's see who's next here. Okay. Candace. All right. So Candace says, how do you increase your points if you're lower than the draw total? Haha. Ironically, here's something I'm going to tell you, Candace. If you haven't already, go and subscribe to this right here. Put your email in, because one of the videos that I created here is actually what to do to increase your chances of getting drawn. And so right off the bat, Candace, I don't know exactly what your history is, but usually people struggle with qualifying because either their age, they're not getting maximum points, they're losing out on age, or their language. But first, right off the bat, I can tell you, I'll give you two quick tips. First, right off the bat, it's English. And you hear people that what's the secret sauce for language scores? What's the most important thing? Well, you need to get at least on the IELTS an 8 in listening and a 7 in everything else. And if you do that, then you maximize the opportunity that you have to get all of the 100 skill transferability factor points. And those make the difference. So if you have a 6.5 in writing, which some people get stuck on, it can make a huge impact. You could have 50 less points or more solely because you don't have at least a 7. So English, without a doubt. And for people that are trying to figure out a way to increase their points, understand if you're looking at education, which is probably the other way, consider getting 1 year of school so that you can at least, if you just have a bachelor's degree, you can have 2 or more degrees, one of which at least 3 years. If you get another 1 year program, that can increase your score as well on the education front and get other transferability factor points. But remember, every year that you go to school, if you've already turned 30, you're losing 5 points initially, and then it even jumps to 10 points later on for every year that you get older. So those are the top 2. But subscribe to the mailing list, like I said, right here. And if I go back, I'm going to just I'm going to click on here. It's right at the top of our, you can access it by going right to the top of our mailing list, right to the top of our Facebook group right here. And in the announcement section, you'll see that there is this post on subscribing. And also, if I click here, see all, those of you who are wondering, Mark, how much do you charge for your legal services? Well, it's right here, guys. I've got separate documents right here that break down all of the fee structures that I have, all of the plans, and it's all tailored to help each of you get as much or as little support as you need. So there's that. All right, let's jump back here. Let's see what the next question is. Okay, Samir says, and I'm going to put here, Samir says, I accidentally put the wrong working records. So different employer knock working records in my profile and submitted the profile. Later, I realized the errors and withdrew the application and resubmitted a new one with correct information. Will this affect my candidature in any manner? Will a CIC officer look at that withdrawn profile? Will they ask me about it? Okay, so I'm going to put here errors in your profile and correcting them. So basically, the answer to this one, Samir, is no. You can change, alter, make whatever you want alterations to your profile, and it does not impact your application in any way. Your profile is not an immigration application that is subject to misrepresentation. The reality is when you submit that expression of interest or your profile into the pool, the government officers, no one even looks at that. That's only a part of your initial assessment for the purposes of the comprehensive ranking system. Once you have submitted your profile and received an invitation to apply, it's then at that stage when you better make sure everything is correct. So when you file your EAPR, your electronic application for permanent residence, it's at that stage that you're now faced with making sure you've got everything correct. Okay, great question, Samir. All right. Okay, Ritika says, hi, Mark. Thanks for all your insight. I'm from India. Can there be a difference, months, between landing of a primary applicant, my spouse, and a secondary applicant? Okay, so I'm going to make a note of this one here. And so we'll call it different landing times spouse. Okay, so basically your question is, can the principal applicant land first and then the spouse come later? Absolutely. The key is that the principal applicant has to land within the time period set on their visa. So there's an expiry date on the visa that's imprinted in your passport. So it has to be used within that time period. And also it also applies for the spouse. So both have to come in, or any family member, any dependent family member have to enter before their visas expire. But if the principal applicant wants to land first and then the spouse wants to land after, essentially, they can do it at any time while that permanent resident visa is valid. So the short answer is yes. Good question. Okay, next, Maninder says, hi, Mark. I'm having 431 CRS with a spouse and 435 without a spouse. What do you recommend? Please advise. Maninder, express entry is becoming increasingly competitive, unbelievably so. And my question even is whether or not it's going to drop down to 435 points at all. You know, with the changes that have been made, more and more people becoming students and coming to Canada so they can get through express entry. And remember, well, actually, maybe many of you don't even know, but over the last year, the number of students in Canada has almost doubled. So we're almost at 500,000 students studying in Canada. So guess what? The vast majority of them are getting study permit points. They're getting points for their Canadian education. They're getting open work permits to work, Canadian work experience, and it is having a drastic effect. Or if it hasn't yet, it's just on the rise. I think that our comprehensive ranking system points are actually going to go up. Now, normally, if the reality was the points, if the difference between what you submitted with your spouse and without would actually put you up into the range where you could actually get an ITA, then sometimes it's worth it to list your spouse as non-accompanying, but make sure they're fully disclosed, that their medical is done, the police clearances are done, and they're fully disclosed within your application. If you list them as non-accompanying, as you've seen here, you're assessed as a principal applicant. But in your case, I'm not sure at this stage if it makes much of a difference. Ultimately, 435, if it does drop down to that level again, If the TRA total is 434, well, if you list your spouse as non-accompanying, you're going to get an ITA. If you list them as accompanying, you won't. So that's a decision you're going to have to make. But no matter what you do, remember, you always have to disclose that spouse, and then understand once you become a permanent resident, then you have to sponsor them after. So, and that can take up to a year in many countries. All right. So great question. And Janas says North Bay. Great. Samir says bless you. Thanks. Okay. So, Omar says, what's your view on the change in medical inadmissibility threshold? Well, Omar, I think it's actually pretty good. Now, ultimately, how many people are going to be impacted by it? It's a case-by-case situation. But the fact that they've increased that minimum threshold will help many families, in particular families with children that have developmental delays, learning disabilities, things like that. It's going to create an opportunity for them to maybe obtain permanent residence where they may have otherwise been medically inadmissible. So, good question, Omer. I'm going to make a note for that one too. Okay. So that was on medical inadmissibility changes. Okay, good. All right, next question here. Candace gives me a thumbs up. You're welcome, Candace. Okay, so Priya says, can fixed deposits be shown as funds? Okay, I know this one. Okay, so can fixed deposits be shown as funds? In that case, fixed deposit receipt will be enough along with bank letter or anything else will be needed. Okay, so Saria, when we're doing this, funds, and I'm going to put here fixed deposit. When we're doing this, you have to realize that you always have an obligation to follow whatever the government tells us. So if they say you need to provide a letter from your financial institution showing your name, how long you've had the account when it was opened, the funds for the last 6 months, the average balance, those kinds of things, well, then you get it. You do everything in your power to get it because they're ruthless. And any officer has the ability to not issue an approval if they feel that you haven't adequately demonstrated what you were supposed to show. In the case of a fixed deposit, well, ultimately, you're going to want to have a statement for that. You want to have proof for it. If you can get a bank letter or something like that, great. But normally you aren't able to do that. So you do the best that you can. I would always try to get exactly what the government's asking for. But if you can't, then you just do the next best thing. And so this is where Mark Holthe, as a Canadian immigration lawyer, is different than other people. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And if you remember, right here, there is something called the completeness check. Right here is the source. If you search for applications for permanent residence program subject to the express entry completeness check, this is where you go. And then I'll just search right here for funds. And there's the proof of funds. So if you're wondering, what do I need to show? This is it. So this is where, Supriya was asking about, do they need to show a letter? Well, this is the letter right here from one or more financial institutions that list all current bank accounts and see here investment accounts, as well as outstanding balances, credit cards, debts, and loans. And this is the letter printed on the letterhead of the financial institution, has your contact information, the contact information of the financial institution, I should say, your name, the account numbers, the date it was opened, and the current balance, as well as the average balance. So this is what it asks for. So your obligation, Supriya, is to do everything that they've asked you to do and as to the best of your ability. And if your institution won't give you anything for your fixed deposit, then a statement is what you use. But I would make sure that you give statements for the past 6 months, if you can include them, to show that the funds were yours. Okay? Excellent. Okay, let's go back to the next question. Okay, Candace says that she'll subscribe. Awesome, Candace. I know it will be worth it. It will totally be worth it. And Candace says that she's going to subscribe to this one right here. And you guys, it's pretty simple. In the comments, let's see if I can even put it in here. I think I might be able to. I'm going to type it in right now myself. And it is simply the www.Canadian. Oh, I got a space in there. When this becomes an internet sensation, and there are I better concentrate on what I'm typing here. immigrationinstitute.com. There we go. When this becomes an internet sensation, hey, there I go. What is going on? Guys, this is crazy. I can't believe this. When I type on mine here, it shows up on my system. I got so excited. I was thinking that now I could see people's comments. Well, when I type on my phone, it does appear in the comments. So did I type it right? CanadianImmigrationInstitute.com. Okay, that's where you go to access this. And it will take you, I'll just show you this quick. As many of you are probably already aware, it will take you, if you type that in, it will take you straight to the landing page for my course, which is this. And then you can go here. And if you want to know, Mark, is this actually worth it? Why did you create it? Well, there's a whole bunch of information that shows exactly the lessons and topics that are covered, as well as everything related to why I created it and why it's awesome for you to purchase it. And so all this information is here, including background on me and everything else. And some frequently asked questions. So anyways, this is where you go. You click on enroll. And then from here, you can choose to purchase a lifetime access. You can break that lifetime access into $87 a month if you want to, or you can just pay on a monthly basis for how long you feel you need to be in. And that's billed at $97. And these are all in US funds. Anyway, so that's the guide. I'll pull it off of here now. Okay, great. Okay, so let's see where we're at now. Okay. Oh, I think I might have gone up to, okay, here we go. Okay, Ajay says, thank you much, Mark. You're very welcome, my friend. I should hold this up here so that I can look more closely right at you guys without putting my head down. Okay, Thiza says, hi, my husband work at a credit union as a manager. Is it okay to present a proof of funds which is invested in the same credit union? Absolutely. There's no problem with that at all. Not at all. Okay, and then Olu says, can my family join me later because I'm migrating alone due to limited funds? Yes, they can, but remember, when they're assessing your funds, the challenge is you're still going to be assessed based on the number of families, number of dependents that you have. So by listing your family members as non-accompanying, you still have to show that you can support them. So don't think that if you don't list them, well, you have to list them. There's no option, right? So that's going to be an issue because there's going to be an expectation that you're still going to have to provide for them. So understand that that's a reality. Okay. Rashid says, as I left my master's in between and came back to India from Canada last year, will it impact my PR process? Okay, Rashid, I'm just going to make a quick note. I'm trying to record all of these questions so that I can then go back and post them in the description in terms of the timeline when I actually answered them. So this one here, you're asking about leaving studies in Canada and the impact on EE. Okay, so this question here, anything related to a temporary nature. So as long as no enforcement action was taken against you or there wasn't some negative immigration consequence to you, temporary things don't impact on express entry. So what are some things that could? Well, if you worked without authorization or you had other violations, you had removal orders or deportation orders from Canada, those kinds of things can impact. But if you chose to leave midway through your study permit and go home just because you didn't want to study anymore, that's not going to impact your application. And that's the specific question I'm answering here. So will leaving studies in Canada impact negatively on express entry? And the answer is no. There's no obligation that you have to ultimately finish it. Okay, so that's a good question, Rashid. Maninder says, thanks for your advice, Mark. You're welcome. Okay, Raj says, I have got my work visa refused from Greece and the UK. I'll mention that in my ITA section, but my work visas were filed by an immigration consultant. I hate unscrupulous immigration consultants. Okay, let's see what this character says for Raj here. Showed some education on my behalf, which was not mine. My visa got refused on the grounds that their visa officer thought my intent was to settle, but now I'm stunned to know I was technically misrepresented without me knowing. However, refusal state the reason is I would not return back and I have no ban. Will this affect my CIC application? If so, what can I do? So I've got my work visa. Remember, this is the question here that Raj is asking, and I'm just going to make a note here. So he's asking basically work permit refusals in other countries. So will that affect an express entry application? The answer is no. As long as there was nothing that would make you inadmissible from a criminal standpoint, that is not going to impact. Matters that are dealt with in another country don't impact on express entry to Canada. If it was in Canada, then you'd have to disclose that. Misrepresentation in Canada comes with a 5-year bar, which can impact on you. But other countries and their immigration processes don't typically translate into the process for Canada. So, good question, Raj. Okay, let's see. Jasdeep says, Mark, I am at 455 if alone and 438 with a spouse. Can she travel with me as a tourist, or we have to wait till she gets PR? That's a good question. So I think every one of these are good questions. Okay, so I'm going to put here non-accompanying spouse, TRV. So with this one, you're asking if I don't include them because I need to get a higher CRS to get my ITA, can my spouse get a visitor visa to come with me or to come visit me later if I'm in Canada? Well, depending upon the country that you're coming from, if your spouse actually has to apply for a temporary resident visa, although it is entirely possible that it could be approved, they're always going to look at the fact that if they grant the visitor visa, will your spouse simply just stay with you as, living permanently in Canada, or will they go home? And it will have an impact. I'm going to say an impact on the assessment of the TRV. And in many cases, they will refuse it. And so be prepared that if you choose to go that route, you could be separated from your spouse for a minimum of 1 year, at least in terms of them coming to see you in Canada. Now, anything can happen. If you have tons of money, your spouse has a wicked job, like an awesome job, and there's no evidence to show whatsoever why she wouldn't return back to the home country versus staying with you, you can always make that pitch. So it's not impossible, but understand it will be difficult. Okay. Okay, Maninder says, God bless you and your family, Mark, for all your help. Thanks for your previous answer. If I get an ITA without a spouse, then is there a possibility that my spouse can come to Canada on a visitor visa and get an open work permit? Okay, I think I just answered that one, Maninder. Technically, spouses can apply for work permits or things independently, but they can't get an open work permit if you're a permanent resident. Only if you're here working in Canada as a skilled worker or as an international student can your spouse get an open work permit because of that relationship, not if you're a permanent resident of Canada. So understand the same things apply. I just answered in the question just previously that Jasdeep had asked. So same answer. It just depends. Okay. Heba says, my score is 427. What should I do? Should I wait for express entry or should I apply for PNP? Heba, in your case, if you get an expression of interest from the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, you pursue it. If you have options for PNP, you pursue them, because at 427, I don't know when it's going to come down to that level. So make sure that you keep all of your options open. Okay. Okay. Ayushi says, I'm claiming an additional 15 sibling points. So what are the documents that can be used to provide proof of residence of sibling in Canada? Are bank statements enough of a recent 1 month enough? Okay. So this one, guys, we've seen this. We've seen this question. I'm going to make a note of this one as well. And it's proof of sibling in Canada. Okay. Just recently, I went through the process of, and I'm going to open this up and see if I can share it with you guys. I'm not sure how easy it is to share Word documents, but that's what I'm trying to share right here. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go to this page here. Okay. And I'm going to see if I can share my screen. Hey, I can. Good. Okay. So I'm going to share this one with you. I'm going to blow this one up and there. And now I'm going to enlarge it. I think I can. Oh, maybe I can't. I got to do it this way. I went on just yesterday and I printed out all of the little instruction bullets within the EAPR so that I had the specific instructions that the government is giving to people when they're trying to prove different things. So this is what I want to show you. So you can be awarded points if you or your spouse have a brother or sister basically is in Canada on, and here's the key, guys, okay? On both the date you submit your profile and when you submit your application for permanent residence. So they are looking at, you can see how they've indicated here. So you have to prove to them that they were actually living in Canada on both the date you submitted your profile and when you submit your application for permanent residence. This has changed. This has actually changed because this wasn't here before. And you can see here, they also have to be 18 years old, a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, and living in Canada. And here's the other information. Brothers or sisters are, and then they give a definition of who they are. Obviously, your blood relative. It can also be a half brother or sister. You can see here. It can be an adopted brother or sister, and stepbrother or stepsister. So these are all the options. Okay. You must provide supporting documents to prove the following. So your relationship to them, that they're in Canada as a permanent resident or citizen, and that they are actually living in Canada right now. So here's some examples of some of the supporting documents. So take a look at this, okay? So birth certificate, what is that going to show? Well, that birth certificate confirms that you have the same parents, right? And it must be a long form one. Marriage certificates. So to show that the dependent that is in Canada, you both have the same parents. If it's, say, for example, a stepbrother or stepsister, to show that those parents are married. So if you had if your mother and their father got married after you were born, then marriage certificate's going to help to establish that. Or legal adoption documents, that establishes that they're an adoptive parent, an adoptive sibling. So you can see how this applies. And this is the kicker here. See this. Any other documents that prove or describe the relationship between you and your brother or sister. To prove the common law relationship between your two parents, if your parents are common law. So you can still be a stepbrother or sister, even if your parents aren't married, but they're living common law. And then finally, I shouldn't say finally, a copy of your brother or sister's Canadian citizenship documents and a copy of your brother or sister's bank statements or utility bill showing their address in Canada. Now, what it doesn't show here, and you have to understand, is it must be recent. So it has to be, you have to make sure that when you're doing this, that it is recent, not old. And sometimes people will provide a lease agreement or things like that are old. And what are they getting back to? What is old? Well, getting back to old is they're not sure if they're currently living in Canada. And so they want to provide proof. Now, I'm also going to go here and I'm going to see if I can get another one. So this is proof of residency in Canada. So how do you prove they actually reside? Okay, so then we go down here and you can see they repeat the same types of things. Here you can see bank statement or utility bill showing their address in Canada. Same thing, guys. So the question is, will this work? Well, yeah, technically it can work. So you're asking, are bank statements enough of recent 1 month enough? Well, in all honesty, I would take no chances whatsoever, because you can see here when it's asking for evidence, it's asking here for on both the date you submit your profile and when you submit your application for permanent residence. So if you cover that off with the documentation that you provide, then as far as I'm concerned, you're fine. And this one here, you'll remember, stepbrothers or stepsisters. This means that you are not related by blood or adoption, but your parents are common law, and they have to be common law throughout that whole period. Okay. So you can see all of these things, they get hung up. This one here, that they're a brother or sister who is on both the date you submit your profile and when you submit your application for permanent residence, 18, Canadian citizen living in Canada. So you need to show that they were living in Canada throughout that whole period. Okay. So I took quite a bit of time to explain this one. and hopefully you guys appreciate it. But that is straight from the EAPR section within the your Express Entry portal. So there you go, bang. And you guys say, Mark, how is he really helping us? Is he really doing anything for us? Guys, that is worth like easily half of my consult. Like that's worth $210 Canadian, that answer right there, because that can make the difference between someone's application being approved or rejected. And so those who are diligent, who stick around, who watch my episodes and everything here are going to realize that I'm not giving away just fluff like most of the YouTubers, immigration consultants on YouTube or otherwise. They don't even give any specific details or hard information. This stuff, guys, is the source information. It's the best I got, and I'm giving it away for free. So hopefully you appreciate it. All right. We're just about done here. I'm gonna ask a few more questions. Okay. Let's see here. Make sure I'm not answering some of the same ones that are duplicated. Okay. Ajay says, I'm a permanent resident and got married recently. Can I bring my wife as a visitor and then apply? Okay. I already answered that one. Okay. So I'm a PR. Oh, do you know what, Ajay? You said I'm a permanent resident and got married recently. Can I bring my wife as a visitor and then apply for her PR? Okay. Well, the same thing goes. She is a permanent resident of Australia and currently residing there. Okay. Well, the reality is a permanent resident of Australia, it still goes by her citizenship. So if she needs a visa, which you're indicating here, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for her to be able to immigrate, to get a temporary resident visa when you're in the process of sponsoring her, for permanent residence in Canada. So the same things I discussed before, the officers are going to look at it. They're going to decide whether or not they feel there's enough evidence to support that she will actually return after her visa is issued, or whether she's going to go to Canada. Now that one's not an express entry question, so I'll just leave that one. Okay. Hussein says, hi Mark, from which date does the 6-month rule apply for proof of funds? The date the ITA is received or the date the applicant submits all the documents? I always want to include the proof of funds from the date the ITA is issued. Why? Well, because you're putting down how much money you have in your account in your profile, and that's the basis upon which you were granted your ITA. If you didn't have that money at all, then the reality is you may not be eligible for meeting the minimum entry criteria for one of the programs. So you could actually not have met that minimum entry criteria unless you can show or demonstrate that you actually had that money. And so if you didn't before, well, that can be an issue. Now, every officer is different, and you have to just, you have to decide what you want to do. But you're asking me what I do. I would want to have those funds in there before, or at least on the day that your ITA, well, the reality is when you submit your profile, even you're stating how much money you have to support yourself. So if you don't have it, then, even then, even though there's no misrep within the profile, technically I always want to include it. But if you're asking me when, ITA or at the time you're submitting your EAPR, I always would say have it there when you submit your profile. Okay. Theodore says, hi Mark, I applied for PR under CEC on August the 19th, 2017. Still waiting over 8 months. And he says, it seems as if people that applied in July and August are still processing, and they're taking a bit long to finalize those. Do I have any idea regarding the delays? Do you know what? In all honesty, I don't. I don't have an answer for that. I wish I did, but I don't. I'm just not sure, Theodore. Okay, Maria says, hi Mark, nice to see you. Can you please advise, do I need to provide, excuse me. Okay. Do I need to provide bank statements even though me and my husband currently working in Canada open work permits? It all comes down to, Maria, and I'm going to put here the time. So this one is 59. Okay. Proof of funds, CEC. Okay. So basically you're asking, do I need to provide proof of funds if I'm going to be, if I'm working in Canada? So here's how this works. You said an open work permit. So I know that means you don't have a job offer in Canada, generally speaking. That's the one situation. If you have a job offer, So basically, your company has obtained a labor market impact assessment for you and is officially supporting your permanent residence with that permanent LMIA, or you've come in as an intercompany transfer or other named work permit and your employer is supporting you. That's one thing, but that isn't your situation here. You say if you've been working in Canada, well, if you've been working a year, then it's possible you could be drawn under the Canadian Experience class. If you were drawn under the Canadian Experience class, then you also do not need to provide proof of funds, and you'll simply upload into the spot where it asks for funds an explanation saying I was drawn under CEC and I do not have to provide proof of funds. All right. Okay, guys, we're at the 1 hour mark. I'm going to end her there. Thank you so much for all your questions. I hope this was helpful. I'm going to try to list all of them for future people who are watching and try and time stamp them a little bit. It'll take me a little bit of time to get those up because I've got other work that I've got finished here. I've got a whole day of consults and everything built up. But thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. And remember, guys, those of you who are disappointed, Mark, why can't I get answers to the questions? Guys, this has everything. And actually, someone came back and said, oh, these questions weren't addressed in the application, in your guide. And the reality is those questions were very, very specific. But I'm still helping him and I'm still answering his questions. And I'm going to see if there's a way I can incorporate those questions back into the guide. So for $97 US, it's nothing. It's totally worth it for you guys, and you can determine what you want to do. But I would advise every single member of our Express Entry Law Group, every person on the Canadian Immigration Institute YouTube channel. Guys, this is totally worth it. So anyways, I'll leave it at that. CanadianImmigrationInstitute.com. You can access the guide there. And finally, the last thing I'm going to share with you once again is if you want to be included within future, and I'm just going to close this up here, get notifications when awesome information is released. Right here, you're going to go to right up at the top, it's announcements within our group. Go to the top at announcements, and then you'll see right here I've posted a link to this here where you can give me your email address and subscribe. And then I'll give you notifications when new stuff comes out. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching today. I think it was an awesome Q&A. Thanks to Bala for joining me. It was great for him giving insight on the landing process from within Canada. And I hope all of you guys have a wonderful day as you're off navigating this crazy world that we all call Express Entry. Take care.